Thanks very much for the intro. Let's see. It is Ira, not Ira. Okay, so I'm really excited to be here. A great conference. Thank you for staying that late. So I'll try to make the talk entertaining for you guys. Okay, so I'm a professor at UW. And what we're interested in my group is to be able to create three-dimensional models of people with the emphasis on being able to do that from really unconstrained data. So kind of think about your personal photo collection. So can I take your personal photo collection and reconstruct a model of you? Now, I have a particular interest in augmented and virtual applications, virtual reality applications. So I'm going to talk today about faces, but since that's the most important part of the human that we need to be able to model, but we're working on the full person in general. Okay, so here's Tom Hanks. What I want to be able to do, I want to be able to create a 3D model of Tom Hanks, okay? And I have a few requirements. So I want to be able to create a model that moves and acts like him. I want to be able to animate it in 3D. I want to be able to synthesize how he may look like if something. For example, over decades, different age, how he would look like when he's older, younger, change that, animate. And finally, I want to be able to interact with the model. So let's say I have this model of Tom Hanks, and now I want to see, can I have a conversation, okay? Can I ask questions, he will reply, and so on. So sounds kind of insane. So how would you do that? One way to go about it is to build, here's an example of a light stage. So this is a huge rig where you have, and this is an example from a group that has been working on people capture with those big rigs at USC, doing amazing work. And so here's President Obama, and there is a rig of cameras and lights. The person is in front of this big rig, and a really high detail model of Obama is captured. Okay? So this is done a few months ago. Similarly, so the light stage that you've seen was one that they can bring to the White House, but a bigger one is something that looks like this, and all the kind of the bright points here are the different lights and the cameras. So lots of them, it looks like it's a big sphere. And there is a person inside the light stage. The person is captured from many different sides with different lighting to be able to create a 3D model of him. So this is a process that includes lots of manual work, lots of capture, hours and hours of capture, and but producing amazing results. Now, the question that I'm really interested in, and where we were able to make a breakthrough, is can you reconstruct 3D models of people just from historical content? And so the idea is the following. I can go to Google image search for Barack Obama, and get a ton of photos. Okay? Now, those photos are uncalibrated, but you have many of them. And you have Obama smiling and serious and different ages even, and so on. Moreover, you can go to YouTube, search for Barack Obama HD, and get many, many different interviews, weekly addresses, lots of footage of him talking and having conversations and so on. Now, even furthermore, I can get a lot of text and audio, for example, by transcribing all the videos and getting the audio. So can we combine all that to create a model? And so it is a lot of data, but it's very unconstrained data. So I do not know what are the cameras and the lights and so on. And so I like to illustrate that the difficulties and the possibilities actually with portraits of Rembrandt, who is arguably the inventor of the selfie, because he painted more than 100 portraits of himself at a time. And when you look on the portraits, you can see how the appearance changes quite significantly across ages when he goes from younger to older. You can really see the emotional state of the person. So you can see that in some of those he's happy, in some of those he's serious. Heads, facial hair, hairstyles also affect appearance a lot, which is interesting. Lighting is changing quite significantly. And so if you would try to reconstruct Rembrandt from his portraits, there are many, many challenges. But one key cue that we can observe, and the one that actually made the reconstruction possible, is lighting. So it is very different. It is unknown. But it's interesting that by observing the shading, the shadows on his face, you can guess how his nose looks like, how the forehead looks like. And so you can have, it's a very significant cue. And so in all the methods that I'll show next, lighting is a big component that allowed to create initial reconstructions, and then we could improve on top of that. So here's an example of our reconstruction. So on the left, you see a YouTube video of Prince Charles. And on the right, you see a 3D model of his face that is reconstructed from just per frame, basically, just from that video. Now, you can see that it's gray, so it's kind of the underlying shape of the face without the colors on top. You can see some of the details around the eyes, inside the mouth, the teeth, and so on, the forehead. And so it's a nice reconstruction that you can rotate and 3D print or whatever. So how did we do that? So the idea is the following. Let's assume that we have a photo collection, big photo collection of a person, like George Bush here, just by searching the internet. And now the goal is given a single image, or if you will, a frame from that YouTube video that I just showed. So for each frame, we want to be able to reconstruct the 3D model, the gray shape, the 3D model of the face, and the texture. So the texture means basically color per point on the face. We have the following components in the algorithm. So I'm not going to get into many details, just kind of state what we are doing. So here's the target frame. That's what we want to reconstruct. We start from base shape reconstruction. And the idea is the following. We have all those photos of Bush from the internet. We use all those photos as input to a version of photometric stereo algorithm. So Tali just described photometric stereo. We actually have our own modified version for uncalibrated photometric stereo. And so the idea is that you can take all the images, say that every image, kind of reshape it to a column vector, to a column, put all the images in one big matrix, and kind of in the basis of it, and run principal component analysis. From that, you can get surface normals and integrate the shape. So we have a bit fancier version of photometric stereo, but that's the idea. And the magic is because there is lots of light variation in the photo collection, that's why you can do that. Now you get something like this, which is a pretty kind of smooth, average version of his face. But it's a 3D face, and so it's good enough for for the next steps. And also, it's one shape for the whole collection, so it doesn't capture expressions. It's not dynamic, just a static shape. Now, the next step is given this base shape. So this is 3D. This is 2D, just an image. What we do, we estimate 6 degrees of freedom pause between the base shape to the image. So we rotate the shape according to the image. Now remember that the image may have different lightings and expressions and so on, so we have a special pose estimation algorithm that takes care of all that. The next step is to, given that the base shape is rotated to the target image in the correct pose, what we do, we estimate 3 optical flow. So what it means, we take the base shape, we project, we relight it based on the lighting in the image. We estimate lighting from the image, relight the base shape based on lighting, using the lighting, and the estimated texture. And then we are able to pair point on the image. We can estimate the kind of the XYZ displacement from the base shape based on the image. So basically, you can capture expressions. For example, the mouth opens a little bit and so on. And finally, to get the high resolution shape, we use the shading. We start from that 3D flowed face base shape, and we use the shading to refine it more, which involves a bunch of PDEs. So I'm not getting into details, but that's the process. Now, given the shape, we go ahead and estimate the texture as well, which looks like this. Now, let me show some examples of the shape, and then I'll talk about the texture. So here's an example. Here are 2 examples of reconstructions, Obama and Hillary Clinton. And each of those, it's a single reconstruction rotated to different views. So for example, it's usually interesting to look on the side view to see how well the reconstruction is doing. And you can see that it captures the different expressions and the details and so on. OK, now about the texture. So the requirements from the texture algorithm are to be consistent over time, meaning that if you look on the internet photos, they're taken with different camera sliding, white balance, whatnot. What we want is for every frame, we want to be able to get a consistent texture. So consistent colors. And in addition, it has to be dynamic. So when the expressions, the facial expressions change, the texture should change. Stay consistent in colors, but change according to the expression. So introduce wrinkles and creases and so on. So we also want to reconstruct the texture from the internet images, or create some basis from the internet images. And so if you'll just align the images by the eyes and take the average of all the photos, you'll get something like this. So you can see that the eyes are pretty aligned, but the mouth is blurry because we just average different facial expressions, so it shouldn't be high resolution. Now, we can do better by detecting a bunch of points, say 60 points on the face, around the mouth, around the eyes, on the contour of the face, and use thin plate splines to interpolate between them, and then warp every internet image to using those points, and then average. And so we get something that is better around the mouth, for example, so it's a bit more detailed. We can do even better by using dense alignment. So taking more than 60 points, but actually doing per pixel alignment of all the photos using the method called collection flow that we developed several years ago. And the idea is to use, it's a version of optical flow, but one that uses many photos together. So kind of class-based optical flow, if you will. And finally, we can achieve really high-resolution texture by, on top of collection flow, dense alignment, do it in different resolutions, so use pyramids. In particular, given an input frame like the one on the left there, and assuming that we pre-processed all the photos that we have in the collection, the internet photos, so every column here, it's a pyramid of a single photograph from the collection. what we do is that given a new target photo, we first, so the little bars, so we start from the lowest resolution level, and we say that the lowest level is just the average of all the photos. So the little red bars all have the same, is the same coefficient. They're all equally contributing. And so this provides the consistency, the color consistency across frame that we need. And then as we go higher in the pyramid and take higher and higher resolution, resolution versions of the photo, we will optimize for the coefficients that look the most similar to the target. So basically, as we go up in the pyramid, we add the details and the wrinkles. And so, for example, in the last level of the pyramid, you can see here that the middle image will get the highest coefficient across all the photos because it has a very similar facial expression. And so we can copy the wrinkles from that photo. OK, so combining the two together, it provides results like this, for example. So you can see on the left random photos of Ian McKellen, and on the right it's the shape reconstruction plus the texture reconstruction. Now the texture is overlaid on the shape. You can see that the texture is consistent. So on the left you can see that the light can change, the color can change, and so on. On the right it's always the same color, so it's consistent over time. But it changes if he will smile, you will see more creases, less creases, and so on. OK, now we can go ahead and apply it on a YouTube video. So here's an example.
Rory, but somehow we've managed to attract some more amazing people. I don't know how we do it, but they seem to want to come and get involved with the madness, which is just all our gain.
Face. And there were times when I would be instructed that I had to stand on this box and hold this pole that they had put there, and then walk down and sit on that chair. And when I looked over at the monitor.
So these are typical examples. And so just to make sure, on the left you see a YouTube video. On the right you see a completely synthetic model of Kevin Spacey, where the texture and the shape is reconstructed. It's not in any way copied from the photo. OK. Now, since we were able to create, to estimate the 3D flow for each photograph, which is basically 3D transformation from the base shape, we can now take this transformation and apply it on a new person. So given that we have one person with a big photo collection, we have that we reconstructed the base shape for, and we have another person also with a big photo collection and a YouTube video, we can do the following.
Rory, but somehow we've managed to attract some more amazing people. I don't know how we do it, but they seem to want to come and get involved with the madness, which is just all our gain.
Face. And there were times when I would be instructed that I had to stand on this box and hold this pole that they had put there, and then walk down and sit on that chair. And when I looked over at the monitor.
All right, so that was puppeteering or animation of one person with another's face. And the next step in that is, and this is really a preliminary result that what I'm going to show you. So the idea is to use text to be able to get closer to the interactive model. So what we did, we downloaded 300 videos of Obama, all the weekly addresses, processed them, which turns out to be about 2 million frames. And we have all the text and the visuals together. And so what we are working on now is, can we type some text and have the person say that? So I'll show you an example of that. It does not include the audio yet, so the audio will be very robotic. And it's random text. He never said that. So
this is Investments Truly Reminding. Women with thousands of differences. 90 veterans prevent Texas from future unpopular wages. Unemployment Uniform Union 2. Many no strikes 6-7 streets.
So it's not ready for prime time yet, but it's a preliminary result that is interesting. Okay, and we are working on head reconstruction and hair and body and so on, all that in process. Now, to be able to create 3D reconstructions, what we needed is to go to the internet and somehow collect many photos of the same person. Or if I want to do it for me, I need to be able to recognize myself in my personal photo collection. And so I tried to understand, so what is the face recognition algorithm that I should use? It seems like face recognition is solved. We should be able to take the best one and just use it. And it turned out that it's not that easy, and it's not solved, actually, because I don't know if you're following face recognition. So it was so basically the best benchmark for face recognition was what is called LFW, and it is relatively small scale. So it includes 15,000 photos up to 10,000 people. And so in our case, we wanted to be able to distinguish people at a million scale. And so it wasn't clear what should we use. And so for that, we created a MegaFace Benchmark, where we collected photos of a million photos of 690,000 individuals, different people, and decided to test, create a simple challenge where we test face recognition algorithms. So more than 300 groups now participate. It's pretty exciting. And so the idea is the following. So I'm going to test 80 people. So I have photos of 80 people in my test set, small number of people relatively. And then I have a database with million photos of some individuals, plus the people that I'm looking for. And so each time I will ask what you'll see on the x-axis here. This is a number of, I call them distractors. So going from 10 to a million. So how many extra people you have in your database. And on the y-axis, you see the rank 1 identification accuracy. So was I able to find the correct person as rank 1, as my first best ranked person? And so what you see that, and these are state-of-the-art algorithms going from Google's FaceNet to some others. And so what you see is that whatever is done on the state-of-the-art benchmark is here. So that's the level. That's pretty small scale. And so most of the algorithms are doing really well, 80% and up, which is great. But then when you start increasing the number of distractors, you're really measuring it at scale, you start seeing the difference across algorithms. And so the top ones are still doing pretty well, around 70%. But many of them are not doing as well when you actually use a small test set, but just a big distractor set. And on a different test set, that includes also age changes in the collection, we get similar behavior. Sorry, the other one included age changes, and so it was harder for the algorithms. And on a different test set that includes celebrities, we get a similar behavior, but the algorithms are doing it a bit better because most of them are trained on celebrities. And so there was one surprise here is that there was one algorithm that, a little startup that did comparably to, as well as Google on the million scale, which now is experiencing lots of press and problems with, it's a Russian startup that is claimed to process all their version of Facebook photos, and lots of press about the privacy and so on, thanks to our benchmark. Okay, so the final small project that I want to talk about is the following system. So we created a system where it lets you imagine how you may look like if something. So what is this if? Kind of imagine a Google image search, and you can write whatever you want in the query. And then the system allows you to put in a photo or a bunch of photographs. And then you can write whatever. So here's an example. So you can write 60-year-old male with a beard. Okay? And so the system will produce that. So it's the person in the input, but 60-year-old and with a beard. So what's going on here? What are we doing? Here's the idea. There is an input photo, and let's say that I'm searching now for curly hair, Kerry Russell. What it's doing, the curly hair query, and you can put really anything there, goes to Google image search or any image search engine, and finds all the people that have, actually it looks for curly hair. So it finds something like this. Lots of curly hair people. Then we process all those photos. We align the photographs and so on using our pipeline. And in particular, what we're doing, we are calculating a bunch of features for every photo. But essentially, the key idea is that from all the curly hair photos, we run face recognition and find the doppelganger set of Kerry Russell. So all the women that are similar to her in the face area, but have curly hair. And so we have an algorithm for detection of skin versus hair and so on, and we calculate a bunch of features. The important one is face recognition to find the doppelganger set, and some others like gender and age and 3D pose and hog as well. We match, then we match, we find the doppelganger set, and basically we copy her face, but using the hair of, but put the hair, a curly hair on top of her. So that's the idea. And so in addition, you can also do the following. So if the source photo is actually a baby, and what we're searching for is age 25 men, we cannot just replace the face and put a different hair on top because that's it will be the age will not match. And so we developed a few years ago an age progression algorithm that works on the face area. And so on the face area, we can age progress the baby to age 25. I'll explain how in a second. And then combine it with a head replacement algorithm. And the idea for face transformation is the following. So we can search for babies on the internet, just write babies. We can search for 25-year-olds. Then what we do, we take all the babies, create a baby space, an average baby model. And we can do it for every age group. One of them is 25-year-old. Then, using the collection flow algorithm that I described in the beginning, we can warp all the photos per age group to have really good dense correspondence across the photos. And in addition, we have the collection flow allows you to have a relatability property. And so we can actually relight the photographs, the space, actually, not every photograph, but there's a space, each age space. And using that, we can learn transformations between every age to every other age in flow and texture. Now, given any input photo, we developed an algorithm, for example, we developed an algorithm that can age progress the face area of the person to predict how this person may look like as 80-year-old. And so for this 3-year-old, the prediction of the algorithm is something like this, by applying average transformations from the internet. Now, and here's some, and basically you can get a full aging sequence this way, going from 3 to 80-year-old. Here's some other examples, 3-year-old to 58-year-old, different quality of photos, resolutions, 4 to 69, and so on. And we have many more examples. So going back to our how do you create a full image out of that? So we are able to process the face area. And now combining with the doppelganger set search on the internet, we can actually predict, create a version of photographs for this baby, how the baby may look like. Now, it's in no way, we're not promised that that's a real result, but it's a guess. All right. The reason that we're working on that is one of the reasons is for missing children search, it's very important to create photographs of kids, how they may look like in older age, to be able to find them easier. Because children change so much in the first 10 years, it's very hard for even artists to predict how people may look like. And so learning from the internet turned out to be very useful for that cause. And the age progression algorithm allows you to age progress the face, but then combining it with the head, actually, it was shown that we are actually very sensitive to the hair and head and how a person may look like. You can even recognize people just based on their hairstyles. And so it's really important to be able to kind of reconstruct the full head and see how the person may look like in the future for that goal. All right, but since you can write anything you want in the query, you can do all sorts of fun things. So here's me with curly hair. I can write India and get me as if I would go to India. I can write 1930 and get that. I think that's my favorite query until now. Here's a similar. So the system also allows to get as input not only one photo, but a few photos. So here are a bunch of photos that the system gets as input of Carrie Russell. And now all the following photos that you'll see are all synthetic, never existed. And so here's the curly hair Carrie Russell. And you can see at the bottom right the actual photo from which the hair was taken. Here's a black hair query, 1930. And one of the interesting applications of this is that you can, for example, imagine how an actor will look like in some new role in a movie. So Kate Blanchett, for example, we could use her as input. We can use this photo, for example, as input, or a bunch of photos, and try to imagine what if she would act Bob Dylan. How would she look like? So I will write Bob Dylan in the query and get photos like these. And here's actually a real photo of her. She was actually acting Bob Dylan in I'm Not There. There is a movie. And that's how she was transformed for that. So you could try to imagine, you could try to compare that too. And this actually concludes my talk. Here's Clooney in curly hair. Thank you.